Yeah. Good evening and good day, actually, because this is a global event, and I'm really excited to be here with my colleagues, Dr. Sika Vizinon and Professor Maria Alabalaki, who are going to be moderating this session with us. And it's a joint event between GA and Pharma Connect Africa, so really exciting. To start, we will go over to President Michael Heinrich, who is president of GA, not of a country. So over to you, Michael, and thanks for making time.
Thank you, David. And yeah, it's a great pleasure to be with everyone here. And thank you, Sika, Maria, and David for organizing this great event. Very exciting to see everyone. I'll be very, very brief. I want to thank everyone, the speakers, the three who organized it behind, and the technical team bringing this all together. The e-seminars are really becoming a very, very important part of the GA. And the main thing I wanted to point out in this moment is if you have any topic, please email us at events@gaonline.org, and we can then consider potential e-seminars. We tended to call them the Friday seminars because they were mostly on Fridays, but as you can see, it's a Tuesday seminar today. So any idea relevant to countries in Africa, but also the Middle East, also obviously in the Americas or in Asia, please feel free to contact us with an idea, speakers' ideas, and obviously a topic. That's basically all I want to say. It's great to see who has been brought together. I know two of the three speakers personally. They are excellent scientists, and it's just amazing to see that they are willing to contribute this. So thank you very much. And David, back to you. And I wish all of us a really interesting time.
Thank you very much, Michael. So here we are then, and ready to start. So Sika and myself will shepherd you in the sort of first half of this webinar, e-seminar. And then Maria will be handling the questions, but also feel free to make comments, ask questions in the chat box so that this is quite interactive. And so the way of introduction is really to understand the market opportunity, and then TCM, IUSH, phytotherapy. You will find that I will show you some clinical trials that have been done on these healing traditions. And the question we have is, what about Africa? And which is actually exactly why we are here. And then maybe identify a journey from the lab or the bench to the bed, and what are the gaps. I'll also just introduce what PharmaConnect Africa is doing, what it is, and then Sika will take over and talk a little bit about GA and African Research Network, and then we will get into the business of the day. So very recent data here, which shows you that in terms of herbal medicines, between 2020 and 2030, this is probably not as recent because COVID has probably accelerated interest in herbal medicine in the dietary supplement area. So this will probably be 3-4 times what we are seeing here. Of course, this data is really of pharmaceutical herbal medicines, if you like. So what about, the traditional herbal medicines, or those that, at least in Africa, we are quite used to, the ones that are extemporaneous, as it were. So this slide just tells us that there is money in this business. So if I'm a young person sitting in this webinar, I would be looking at this money and saying, how can I actually put this money into my pocket, number one, but how can I improve access to medicines, number two? I went to clinicaltrials.gov yesterday, and I typed in herb, and there were 377 studies which include herb in one way or the other. So quite a lot of them are around herb-drug interactions. But even if it was half of those, trials, it means that anywhere up to 150 studies are going on at the moment. involving clinical trialing of herbal products into the clinic and into patients. And some of them are interesting. So this is a Chinese herb for advanced solid tumors. And this is not in China, but in New York. This is in China. Treatment of COVID. This is another one, irritable bowel syndrome, again using traditional Chinese medicine. And this is why I was asking the question, what about African products? Here's another one, selected vegetable and herb mix for cancer, again in the US. This one's in Germany, Ayurvedic herbs in diarrhea, IBS. So again, the question, where are the African herbs and why should they matter? They matter because Africa actually has 1/4 of all vascular species, plant species in the world, right? Compared to China. Obviously, it's an unfair comparison because Africa is 52 countries, but this is important to note. The other thing to note is that Africa is the most diverse in terms of culture. So how we use plants is obviously informed by culture. So it tells us that there's a lot here that we probably can get out of Africa. When you compare Europe as a continent, which is a small continent, by the way, to Africa, again, Europe is less than half the vascular plant species that you find in Africa. And from a 90%, by the way, 90% of Germans use plants, traditional medicines, as it were, which is higher than the WHO average, which is about 80% globally, historically. So what's the problem with getting this into the clinic? And these are the issues that our speakers will address. Issues around documentation and protection of traditional knowledge. We need deep research in terms of preclinical research, right? Tox work, safety studies. Of course, we need funding. And part of the problem with this is the fact that this research is being done in universities. It's not the pharma industry which is investing their billions into this. It's universities, even institutions working with traditional healers. And then most important, and I'm glad I've seen some regulators here, is regulatory guidance. Do we actually have regulatory guidance which is leading researchers so that they understand that herbal medicinal products have a different route from the traditional pharmaceutical route? So these will be some of the questions that will be addressed. So we have these conversations at PharmaConnect Africa, and you can follow us on YouTube. There are lots of webinars that we've curated there. We also have the Association of African Medicinal Plant Standards. We have a website, we have a monthly newsletter where we curate a lot of this information, and then there are books. So this is what we are doing to document this knowledge, but who's then taking up the baton to move this into the clinic? Those are the questions. Over to you, Sika. Maybe you have the answers.
Right.